This is Explosionomics Fast and Furious podcast, and we don't have friends. We have family. We have been each week, each month, for the past 12 months. I don't really know how to put it at this stage because the podcast got absolutely fucked. But we was originally supposed to be watching all the movies in the lead up to Fast and Furious 9. Then COVID happened. And then we released them. Then we did a bonus episode. And you've been listening to the podcast. Very good. Thank you very much. We're cracking coronas. We're not really. I mean, figuratively. Ash had one at the premiere. Good for him. Some of us got work tomorrow. So we're not, but we're drinking Pepsis and Coke and whatever the hell else. But the main thing is we have seen, we have watched Fast and Furious 9. My name's Dylan Blight. Joining me to discuss the film, Ashley Hobley.
Hey, Dylan. I'm excited to be here, but you thought about how wild the episodes we've done are. We started recording 499 days ago. We released 19 episodes. Dylan, you've watched 4 seasons of Fast and Furious Spy Races. We've covered 10 films about this team taking out planes, trains, tanks. I'm not even mentioning Los Bandolores, which I haven't even seen yet. We've lived through a crazy pandemic, and now we're here. We're talking about a car with talking about a movie with flying cars. How did we survive? Unless we're not normal.
We're not normal. Kieran March is also here.
Look, we're definitely not normal here at the Explosion Network, and that's okay. But guys, we've actually seen it. Who would have thought that It's About Family would actually have a season end finally after all this time? We've actually blood and gone and done it.
Just in time to start it all again for Fast and Furious 10. Let's get the podcast going again.
Also, I'm disappointed to hear you guys aren't cracking Coronas.
I went straight from...
Look at him! Look at him doing it.
Good, yeah.
Well, we haven't had 24 hours to sit.
Yeah,
and really,
we've come straight from the cinema.
Yeah,
and I wasn't prepared.
You weren't craving Coronas as soon as you finished the film?
I kind of was, but all the bowl shops were
I need to
shot.
get into the barbecue.
Also,
I was nearly going to stop and get one, but
that Corona, you're just drinking that Corona without any lime or anything. That's fucking.
I don't. Yeah,
that's.
They don't use lime in the movie.
They don't use lime in the movie, but Corona kind of needs lime.
But to stick with what's happening. So of course, today's movie we're discussing, Fast and Furious.
They couldn't
9.
get a lime sponsorship. That's why.
Probably won't. Year release 2021. Directed by Justin Lin. Written by Daniel Casey, Justin Lin. They did the screenplay. Justin Lin, Alfredo Botello, and Daniel Casey did the story, of course, based on characters by Gary Scott Thompson. The main cast, as big as Avengers Endgame. Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Nathalie, Emmanuel, Charlize Theron, John Cena, Finn Cole, Kang, Anna Sawai? What, do you have a ruling on? Does anyone have a ruling?
I think Sawai.
Helen, Mirren, Kurt Russell, Lucas Black, Shad Moss, Don Omar, Shea Whigham, Vinnie Bennett, JD Pardo, Michael Rooker, Siena Agudong, Azia Dinea Hale, Juju Zhang, Carson Kern, Igby Rigby, and Cardi B. Synopsis: Cipher enlists the help of Jacob, Dom's younger brother, to take revenge on Dom and his team.
All right, Dom. What's next?
No matter how fast you are,
I am not to be compared to you.
no one outruns their past.
I am more easy, you trying your best to become me.
And mine just caught up to me.
Been a long time, Dom.
So we're up against a master thief, assassin, high performance driver. Who is he?
Jacob is Dom's brother.
Can I say that I went back in the past day since and have watched the trailers that they released.
Yep.
And they're like a lot of misdirects.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. Sure,
Yep.
a lot of this stuff actually happened, but still, yeah, a lot of misdirects as to what was happening. Primarily, obviously, Cipher, not that big of not the actual villain. But yeah, we'll get into all that.
Yeah. For a year, I have thought this movie was about what the trailers were saying and what we thought the synopsis was, but they have been lying to us. They've been doing tricky dickies, but that's
John Cena did not catch that car.
No, that's true.
It wasn't even John Cena.
let's start with you can see him anyway. Let's start with you, Ash, because you've seen the movie before me and Kieran. You reviewed it for the website explosionetwork.com. What are your thoughts on Fast and Furious 9?
It's great. Like if you're on board, if you've been listening to this podcast, you are going to love this movie. If you're down for the craziness and bizarreness of the Fast and Furious films, as they've been for the last, since, I want to say 5, you'll love this because it is as crazy as they could possibly have gone. Justin Lin back in the helm, pushing the boundaries as far as possible. I saw somebody say that the franchise has been kind of out of control, and the way that Justin Lin's been able to get it back on control is to go as fast as freaking possible in the direction of craziness, and that's what he's done. They go there. We all joked about it, but they went there. I mentioned in my review that we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of the first film, which is mental and scary that it's that old. But this movie kind of works as like a prequel to Fast and Furious because we get a chance to delve into Dom's backstory for the first time. Actually see the events that kind of set his life in motion. And, you know, it's like really emotional at times. I found anyway. You know, and of course we got Han back. I think we didn't get enough justice, is my take.
My take is we didn't get enough Han.
Yeah, I think that's also a fair.
I think my take is
a fair thing.
I think I'll save it for when. Sorry, go on.
But yeah, great film. Lots of cool action sequences that are crazy and bizarre. Yeah, I think it's obviously very Dom focused. I think the supporting cast doesn't necessarily get a lot of chance to shine or have full arcs throughout the film. They're just so focused on that.
Do they ever?
Dom.
To be real?
Do they ever? But yeah, you know. I think people will say, I've seen reviews obviously in the day since, people calling it incredibly dumb and that, but I mean, I don't think so. You know, you're either ride or die, or you'll just die.
You're either ride or die, you know.
You're either ride.
What's your thoughts, Kieran?
I really enjoyed it. I think overall, I don't know why, right? Even though the scale of this movie in terms of like outlandishness is kind of even further with them sending the car to space and everything, and Roman and Ludacris's character going to space. I feel at the same time it wasn't as big a scale as Fate of the Furious is in terms of like what they were, like what the story was as a whole, which I think is interesting for me, because I feel like maybe because it was more centered around Dom and Jacob, it was a lot more of a it kind of narrowed the kind of overall view of the movie, because I think we had the flashbacks throughout it, and the flashbacks were very kind of would set back towards what Fast and Furious used to be in many ways, not just quite this over the top outlandish shit, but just kind of racing. You know, it's when people, even when people were, somebody was asking me today about seeing it, I'm like, dude, Fast and Furious is no longer about cars. Not really. Cars are just there. There's just other outlandish shit on top of it. I think magnets work an interesting way in the Fast and Furious world, but I was down for it the entire time. as soon as it was gone, I was like, sure, okay, yep, let's just accept that. I cried twice in this movie. Like, I had decent tears going 2 times. One time when Han came back in everybody's reactions to him and Dom's reaction, I was like, man, that hurt. And then the ending of the movie got me real good. Like, the ending got me like with them being like, there's one more spot, and then the skyline coming in. Yeah. I was like,
again, I want to say the trailers had the second trailer opens with that shot.
Yes.
Of the skyline coming into the driveway.
Right. But you just assumed it wasn't Brian, because why would it be Brian? So
yeah.
Because even just I can remember, like, sitting there watching it was just the descent of, oh my god, there's an empty spot there, that would be Brian's seat, and then he mentions it, and then it's just, oh god. I did think that Dom's kid Brian would be in this movie more than he was. He kind of just was like there for a minute and then quickly hurried off screen to be like.
I just found it so funny that then Dom shows up for the plane. Is like, "Where's little Brian? Did you just leave him in that house?"
Well, I was just
like
my
20 minutes later until
my presumption was
it's
always
revealed.
Oh, it's just gone. He's with Brian right now. I was like, yeah, that's the easy kind of write off of this explains where Brian is and he's with Jack and Brian. But I think the pacing's a little weird in this movie in terms of I wish, like for me, Han kind of comes in and then after the Han moment we're going directly into the finish. Like it's kind of directly into the end instead of there being kind of more moments with him back and more kind of character interactions I would have loved to see in this movie. It was really funny that Sean and Bao and Twinkie and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they are Noel are making rockets in Germany. I was like, you guys came from Tokyo to being drifters. Like, what is this?
Let's not forget that, as I've pointed out before,
Earl's super smart. He went to a very smart school.
He is actually super smart. Like, if you've been listening to this podcast and you didn't skip the first episode, I'm fucking mental blanking on the character's name, but he went in Bad Luck Tomorrow. He is a super smart.
Oh no, I understand. Guy. Noel is super smart, and so is Han and stuff. But even just in terms of like
Earl, Jason
sorry,
Tobin. That's
Earl. Sorry.
Yeah.
Even if you like, could you imagine? I don't know why. Maybe it's just because of how he's aged. But if somebody has never seen Tokyo Drift, never seen any of those movies, and Sean rocks up, and you were to tell somebody that had no idea, hey Joe, that guy used to be like the drift king of the entire Tokyo drifting scene at one point in time. He just doesn't.
Tokyo Drift came out in like 2006.
Yeah, but
it's nearly 20 years old.
It's 20 years old. Exactly. It's nearly 20 years old, but also at the same time, it's in a funky place in time in terms of the real world timeline.
It was like 7 years ago now.
Yeah, like it wasn't that long ago technically by the kind of how the movie has been set up.
Yeah, but he looked older even in his briefing and at number 7, and I'm glad that even with better technology today for the de-aging stuff, they're just like, fuck it. Like.
Oh no, I don't think I don't think him look like his old age or anything bothered me. It was more just the character itself. Just it felt, I don't know, there was almost this kind of dorky disconnect that I'm like, sure, this guy used to be the Drift King of Tokyo, and he's just kind of this bit over the top scientist person, like engineer now in terms of it, which I thought was funny. Yeah. It was just different. I really liked that Ramsey got a lot more in this movie. I enjoyed her throughout this. And then the whole subplot with Roman, like, you know what? I actually think that is the wackiest storyline of this entire fucking movie. Is just the section where Roman's lying,
the audience,
where he is lying in that like broken, desolate building, and there is like 15 to 20 soldiers all coming in with guns, and it's like, the fuck?
He's gonna die. They're gonna kill him. He's gonna die.
There is no way he lives here. And then I was like, oh no, somebody's gonna come and save him. Like Jacob's gonna be the one that comes and saves him, but like takes him as a prisoner or some shit was like my instant. And then no, he just kind of he survived through it himself. And I was like,
I mean, he got like shot a lot, but very luckily none of them were. Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
The bulletproof vest doesn't stop the impact, though.
No, this is Tyrese. He needed to look strong because the Rock's not here anymore.
They have consistency with gravity because the amount of times that people will land on car bonnets, and as long as it's a car bonnet and not the ground, it's soft
like
as a cushion.
It's a crash pad. The fact that logic in this world says if you see somebody falling, nudge a car into their path so that they land on the car and they'll be okay.
There's consistency to that, though, at least.
There is very much so. I thought Dom's attempted sacrifice scene was kind of dumb. Like, he didn't really need to do that. It never seemed like there was I don't know, I never felt the urgency, or it was almost like he was just like, I'm just going to sacrifice myself now. And I was like, what are we really doing another fake death? And we didn't. It was just a chance for him to have the flashback
scene or
and go
whatever you
through
wanna
that
call it.
stuff, and then Letty to save him. He like Batman somebody, and he was Bane. Like somebody, like one of the fucking, like he totally.
It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, okay, that's
That
that's
dude's
brutal.
so dead. Also, Hans like straight up just blows someone up in this movie. It's quite violent.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you know,
He-
that person.
after he
sorry,
snipes, like, four
the
people.
the funny thing is, so that person, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I meant to look it up. So that person is the current UFC heavyweight champion of the world. There were some weird, odd cameos in this movie. I was in disbelief for the entire section with Nicki Minaj. Like just that entire.
It's Cardi B.
It's Cardi B.
It's Cardi B. I don't know why I said Nicki
Fuck's
Minaj. I
sake.
know it's Cardi B. Fuck, I'm terrible with names. With Cardi B, I was very fucking confused. That was clear my confusion.
They
So
always
everyone
have a new small cameo for some.
I know,
hip-hop
I know.
artist in
It's
every
just
movie.
It was just very kind of out
And
of the blue.
I think Nicki Minaj has done a cameo in the last one or one before. I swear she's done one already.
Possibly. That's probably why I was confused. I thought there was some link to Nicki Minaj. saying,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
not at
no,
all.
Not
what
going to
you
be able to
thought.
save
You're
myself from that one.
You're just trying to cover your ass.
And then finally, Dame Helen Mirren is fucking amazing. Like just her in that driving scene, and just her acting with like doing the shifts and everything, and that whole little scene was just, my heart was wanting to explode.
E-brake, darling.
Like that was she's great, and I'm glad that they she keeps wanting to be involved in these movies, because it's something that's really transformed into something great.
Yeah, she it's a kind of role where you're like, did she get paid, or was she just like, can I show up and do a can I just fuck around for a little
She's
bit
like, I
there
want to
sort of-
drive this time. I want to be a driver this time, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it, of course. I mean, it was it was I mean, it was everything I wanted it to be. Of course it was. Like, let's I have some problems with things if I want to like get down to it, but like ultimately it's exactly what I wanted out of a Fast and Furious movie. It's really good watch after how I've said that Fast and Furious 8 is one of my least favorite of the series, of course. So it's a return to form. Both fittingly, coincidentally enough, the exact two scenes that Kieran talked about where he was tearing up is the exact two scenes where I also was tearing up. And during those moments, I was thinking, this is so dumb. This is not the movie anyone would believe that you would start crying in. But I'm also like, this is just the solid proof that I'm like, for people who are like, oh man, I like this. Because I scanned the Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes just to read like the headlines, the whatever you call the cutout, like short review
the
quotes.
consensus.
Yeah, the consensus type thing. Some people are like, not enough action, too much talking, or like all this sort of stuff.
Too much
like,
talking?
y'all don't get it because like you're definitely, because a lot of people say like this, people who don't get the movie say the super fans are the people who just like it for the dumb action. But I'm always like, no, the super fans are the people who actually like these movies for the characters. At this
soap
stage,
opera,
at this stage, and I said this a million times in this podcast, at this stage, whenever I try to sell these movies to people, I'm like, it's not, like, the dumb action is really good. Like, it's really good dumb action. They do dumb action really well. But the reason I like this franchise so much is the characters. And when I'm tearing up in scenes, it's because of the characters, not because of the dumb fucking action. And that's why I like these movies so much. So.
The thing that broke me in the Han moment was actually Tej's reaction to seeing him. Like, his kind of own disbelief. I was like, oh god,
Tyrese Gibson's best acting.
I was like, oh god, what is going on? Yeah, no, definitely.
I would say to a degree that that there's the action scenes in this. Maybe it doesn't have like a plane chase sequence, or it doesn't really have that big as memorable moment. But I honestly don't even feel like the movie was trying to. Like, I feel like this movie was purposely more focused on the characters and story, maybe more so than having the big.
But it feels like they still desired to have the MacGuffin or the big bad thing that they're trying to stop from happening being the biggest.
Well, you got to
and
have
baddest
something.
thing.
That's what these movies
No, but
are.
they got to have something. But then also at the same time, it's like the biggest and baddest thing really they've ever had to deal with. It's like a device that is making them go into space to be able to stop it. So it just feels a little like
it's a MacGuffin. It's like whatever. Like They're like, what can we come up with that both lets us do the take him to space and introduce Dom's brother and all this sort of stuff. So, ultimately, it is. I definitely feel like getting Justin Lin back behind the wheel, if you will, is getting this franchise back on track. And I don't think he's officially signed on to do 10, or like I think he's.
I think he is.
I thought he was.
He?
Yeah, I thought he did. He was already 9 and 10.
A 10th film is planned with Lin set to direct and Morgan to write.
Really? Where's that from?
That's on Wikipedia, so I don't know.
I don't know how much I trust it. Because I'll be surprised if Morgan's coming back at this stage, because I think Chris Morgan's going to be writing the Hobbs and Shaw sequel, surely. Because this one had that Daniel Casey, that first person. That's the first time he's wrote a fast script, or so interesting. So another one lists the same team doing 10. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it would make sense, but I wasn't sure if they 100% locked it in, because obviously this movie sort of sets it up as it's both. It very much is a prequel while being a sequel, as Ash said.
I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this.
Yeah.
It's Godfather 2.
Sure. I don't think it's quite that, but sure.
No, it's not that good, but it uses the same.
I know what you're trying to say, but I mean, it's not a dual narrative though. It's like just flashback sequences. But it is a prequel in that it covers not just that it has the flashback scenes, but ultimately the story around Dom and Jacob is mostly around their past and not really what's going on in the present. What's happening in the present is seemingly just Cipher laying in the weight, ready to pull the strings again. And obviously Cipher's going to be the big bad guy, number 10.
No, but you mean
the last one.
Cipher's laying in wait to be forgiven and brought into the family and to come be invited to the barbecue.
No, Cipher's not interested in family.
Maybe that changes. Jacob wasn't interested in family at the start of this movie. But...
I mean, he doesn't have a choice.
Jason Statham wasn't interested in family.
Jacobs was super in need of family.
Yeah. He was in need of it, but he didn't want it.
This whole movie, you can tell he just needs a hug. So
yeah.
But yeah, I love that. That's my. Let's get into some more nitty gritty parts of the movie, though. Aside from that, so let's start with the flashback stuff. I loved how it opened with this old school Universal logo, but I was very annoyed that they then cut to current day other production studios logos afterwards and kind of ruined that. That annoyed me weirdly.
Come on.
Yeah,
the spirit.
Yeah, I was like, come on, like this, you're not doing that. But yeah, how do we like? Because when it started, and I saw the logo with the flashback art, the old Universal style. I was like, oh, flashback opening the movie. Sure, let's go. That's the way we're going to start it, eh? How did we feel about that cast? So, or all of those flashback stuff. So, Vinnie, Bennett playing Dominic, Finn Cole played Jacob, and JD Pardo played their father, Jack Toretto. Of course, and by the way, Michael Rooker in there as Buddy, the friendly mechanic or whatever. As soon as the movie starts, you see that race. It's like, if you're a hardcore, at least you've watched the movies and paid attention to the plot of the first one. You know what's going to happen. You know what this race is. You know what day we're on, because it's like, what else would they be showing us? So yeah, but how do you feel about that cast and all the flashback scenes and stuff, Ash?
I thought it was really good. Yeah, I didn't have an issue with any of them. I think initially I'm like, oh, he's a bit. He's a bit more tan than Vin Diesel is, but I think he did a great job. I think that he who's it again?
Vinnie or
Vinnie.
Vinnie Bennett.
Vinnie, Bennett. He feels like a young Dom, and you could definitely see the Dom that we're gonna get like in him, especially like the last flashback where he's giving Jacob a hug and like talking about family. It's like,
if you deliver the family line well enough, then you can play Dominic Toretto. So it's the true test.
And then we finally learn how Dom knows was it Santos and Leo?
Yep. weren't played by younger actors. They were just playing themselves again. So
No, I thought Leo was.
It's new. It was different.
No, I think
Ciara-
Santo was the same, but Leo was definitely different.
Santo was played by somebody.
okay, because I knew one of them, Santo.
One of them was
definitely
the same. The main one that was talking was the same, but the other one was not.
But yeah, that's funny that they choose to just tie it. So let's tie up that loose end of how Dom knew these two dudes. Like, he just showed up in Fast and Furious 4 and they never explained. So, yeah. Kieran, how do you feel about all the flashbacks and the cast and stuff?
I really enjoyed the flashbacks. I don't know why, but up until this point, I always I don't know why I inferred that Dom was a lot younger when the accident happened. And I don't know, that's how...
It threw me off when they put the year up. I'm like, doing the mental maths.
Yeah, like, because I was just like...
Scott, he looks like he's like 18.
He looks 18,
so that means
19.
he's definitely 50 in this movie now?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that's just... I don't know. It was just the thing for me when Dom... The first time Dom talks about the accident, he talks about how he remembered that he could hear his dad screaming, but then he got told afterwards that it was him screaming. And I don't know why that kind of line just made me just think he was a bunch younger when it happened. And then there was a decent amount of time between the incident and him beating...
Sacking the dude.
Whacking the dude with the wrench and everything. For a split second, I thought there was going to be a plot line where it was actually Jacob that had whacked the dude and Dom took the fall.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that to happen.
For a second as well,
They were setting it up.
Yeah, they alluded to it definitely. I thought I wasn't sold on Vinnie's portrayal of Dom until the race against Jacob, because he had like just his whole that race and just his portrayal of
reminded
Dom
me of the first race versus Brian and the first movie.
Definitely, it reminded me of that kind of him having those mannerisms and him being that Dom. So like it was at that point I was like, well, that Dom isn't that far off the Dom that we meet in the first Fast and Furious movie. Like really, that there is how Dom establishes himself as the king of the LA kind of racing scene.
Yeah, it's implied that the girl is like young Letty, I think.
Yes, there's young Letty
in the cast. There's young everyone there, and you can tell who they're supposed to be because they very much dress them like they dress in the first movie. So you've got young Letty, young Elv, young Vince. Oh no, sorry, young Letty, young Vince, young Jesse. There you can tell who Jesse is because it's the kid wearing like the jacket and the beanie. He's like standing there like a little like
and like Vinny's wearing like the skin tight shirt and everything. Yeah. No, it was definitely so that was nice to give us context for that kind of stuff with it. But overall, I think it was a really nice touch to have a flashback. Now that we're fucking 9 movies in, and we're going all the way back to something that was mainly spoken about in the first movie. And I think it's a real good way to involve Jacob in the family again without the obvious why the fuck has nobody mentioned Jacob all this time. It's just because there's a decent explanation for this and everything.
Because the narrative was that he was the cause of the father's death, so we shall not speak his name anymore. He was vetoed. From the family. Yeah, I really enjoyed all the flashbacks. I at first was, all the older actors, Vinnie and everyone else, just like, there's something off. But then after a couple of minutes, I was like, oh, this is working for me. But that, that first like moment where he's like, Dom. I'm like, Dom? Yeah, it looked like Dom to me, like. But yeah, after a while.
They couldn't do the Irishman thing?
Yeah, I was like, come on.
That we joked about. Again, I went back and listened to the first episode. Of talking about the trailers. We said, oh, is it going to be flashbacks? I said, hell yeah.
Why do we think there was going to be flashbacks? What was the...
I don't know, because obviously the Dom...
Because Dom and
Jacob
Jacob's story.
How else do you tell that without flashbacks, really?
Yeah. So, right on the money as always. We are always, gods at knowing what's going to happen in movies. Yeah. So, yeah, I enjoyed all the flashback stuff. I think falling on a crux of having to rely on flashbacks to tell stories is sometimes can be like a point of like bad writing, but I think the way they do it in this movie works well to complement the story they're trying to tell anyway. So I think it's fine. And then that race scene, as Kieran said, was quite good. Just like the way he played Dom and all that, I thought was like pitch perfect Dom, Fast Furious 1 type era Dom. And as for the age thing, I've always assumed that it's pretty much they play to Vin Diesel's real age. So like I quickly
he's
looked
53, so.
Yeah, I was about to say I quickly checked his age then, 53. So him being like roughly 50 in this movie. That's how I've always assumed they run these movies. It's like roughly how old is Vin Diesel? That's how old his character is, and that's how they track the movies. Because this movie's like assumably 5 years after 8 or something like that. Because of course, I don't know how old that kid's supposed to be. Somewhere between like 5-ish, 8, somewhere between there. I don't know, 5 to 8-ish. Definitely not 8.
I wouldn't say 8. I'd say like
no,
like
but I'm saying
4
somewhere
to
in
5.
between.
Like
Yeah, I don't know,
somewhere, like it's fairly young. But,
yeah. So it's like that kid is the barometer for how long it's been between the 8th and 9th movie. So
Also, bit of trivia.
Mm.
When they do the flashback, the Vision Quest of even younger Dom with working on the car with their dad.
Yeah.
That's Vin Diesel's son playing Dom.
Oh, real son.
Oh, that's
There you
cool.
go.
Yeah.
It's all about family, you know?
It is all about family.
You got 'em.
It's all about nepotism.
Wow. Come on now. Come on. So then the main other thing, just at the start of the movie before we get to the main plot point, is they do a little bit of this. It's like almost retreading Fast and Furious 7's plot with with Brian and Mia, but they don't spend too much on it. I personally don't mind that doesn't become a big through line for the movie, unlike it was a through line for Brian and Mia in Fast and Furious 7. Like they were constantly sort of talking about it. Like they go over it at the start, but I didn't feel like they needed to spend more on that because it felt like an unsaid thing where there's that point, the halfway point in the movie after Letty saves Dom and he's like, oh, this is our life or whatever. It's like, yeah, I think at that stage they just agree that maybe they shouldn't be living out in the middle of buttfuck nowhere trying to live this like silly little life. And then by the end of the movie, the fact that they're rebuilding the house and you know everything like that, to me that says like maybe they're not back in a life of crime, but they're also not trying to live this wood life weird, you know, away from everybody thing. Like they're back in reality where people can come visit them, they can have the barbecues, that you know, it's like it's all that sort of thing. So that was sort of the through line for that plot line. You said in your review, Ash, that you thought it was like a missed opportunity though, or
I think they could they just bring it up and then just kind of
I feel like Letty shuts that shit
Letty
down.
has Letty has that conversation with Mia, that's the first conversation they've had in the series, right?
Just the two of them, I
Possibly.
believe so, yes.
Yeah, just the two of
Possibly,
them, yeah.
But I think Letty shuts that shit down, whereas Brian and Mia were both kind of open to that idea, but both conflicted. Where Dom is saying he wants it, and Letty's instantly like, nah, bruh, that's not us. We can't do that. Which I think instantly separates them from that storyline, being the same as Mia and Brian.
So there's so many like random plot threads in this that I don't know.
Yeah.
So I want to bring up something before I forget that I just remembered. I hate to go plot hole, but I'm like, did I miss something? Is Mr. Nobody dead? Like, what's the?
I think they left it open.
Like, you know,
It's never confirmed,
we
but
never actually find
you
out
would
what
assume. But he could show up next movie.
Yeah, I know, but that was like one thing where I was like, no one's.
I mean, they had Kurt Russell in the movie, so
They did.
Even though,
He's
you
okay.
know what? I will say, Han's explanation of why Han survived was shit.
Well,
He
you want
just-
to go there next? If that's
wanna
that's
start
really
If you want to
if you
start,
go
if we
there, right?
we're segueing
I was asking
there
about
from,
Mr. Nobody. You're like, oh, hard shit. Like,
No. So I think nobody in Han, because I think nobody is Mr. Nobody, and you know he can just come back alive at whatever point he wants to, and they could reuse him and be like, haha, he never actually died. I don't think anybody cares that much about Mr. Nobody. He's kind of just a plot device at this point. Unless either of you
wrong,
super
because if you
disagree.
watch Fast and Furious spy races like I have been, you would know that the Nobody organization is actually an important organization to the world. And
I mean, when you really look at it, the Nobody organization is the most important thing. He's got connections to everybody. He hired Giselle.
Mhm.
Jacob was working for him for
Yep.
who knows like how
Yep.
long?
Exactly. Got him.
But
Now he's dead?
no,
Probably not.
no.
All right, so let's do Han then, because I was like, how long can we put this off?
You're holding out.
Let's see. I was like, yeah. All right,
You're waiting it out. Make the listeners listen.
I was trying to get to things I might forget.
Get to that point of the story.
Yeah, well, I was trying to like make sure we didn't do stuff like before I forget before I open the Han. But let's dive into Han. So, firstly, before going into the how does he survive thing, I do want to say that before I forget on this also, I think the Mia, Letty, Tokyo stuff, and their fight scene, their hand-to-hand fight scene, is actually better hand-to-hand fight scenes than most big-budget Hollywood fight scene movies with male actors. I thought they actually did quite a lot. It was quite shot well. They did quite a good job. I just want to say, like, before, I'm going to skip past that scene because I thought that was generally quite a good.
Better
scene.
than the aeroplane fight scene from 5.
Yeah,
like it's much better than that fight scene as a whole. Like I think it's really good. Yeah,
I really enjoyed that moment then with the way they reveal Han, even though we'd seen it in the trailer. I still think it works. So I thought that was really cool. And then before we get to the whole death thing, I do want to how his connection ties into Mr. Nobody and how he ends up having finding Elle and all this sort of stuff. Because now I'm like, okay, so during the events of Tokyo Drift,
yes, yes.
I like, so during the events of Tokyo Drift, at some point, either prior to that movie or during that movie, Mr. Nobody came to Han, was like, hey, can you do this thing? He was like, sure, I'll do it. Then he met Elle, and then he was protecting this little girl, even while he was helping do Yakuza crime work, and then also training up Boswell.
I feel like
also dying, but not dying because holograms or something.
No, I feel like the only explanation is that stuff happened prior to the events of Tokyo Drift.
I mean, even if it did, the point, like, even in that means still during the events of Tokyo Drift. Yeah, he's in Tokyo Drift. He still has Elle somewhere, and he's going home at night after working for the Yakuza and saying, "Hey, little girl, do you want a pop top?"
Taking home these random chicks all the time, trying to fill this void that just left.
Look, let's just look as a whole. Tokyo Drift is a movie that it's valuable. It's canon, but at the same time, it isn't canon.
It's very canon.
No, it's very canon, but at the same time,
they're just constantly having to rework stuff.
I feel like the writers kind of want people to forget, though, about the details of Tokyo Drift. Like Han's whole character in that movie.
Can I bring up something not quite exactly related? Was the postcard something we knew about before?
No.
Well, it was I presumed it's the only reason that Dom ended up in Tokyo after Han's death, because he apparently got it.
No, because Sean called him, right?
No.
Sean called Dom.
Nope. Because Sean didn't know who Dom was until they pulled up for that race.
No.
If you remember Fast and Furious 7, a package arrives, a big box at their house. Dom then looks down and says, who's this package from? As Mia's leaving the house with Brian. And then a phone rings. He answers it. It's Jason Statham. Deckard Shaw says, you don't know me, Dom, but you're about to. And then boom, shit blows up left, right. And then because of that, they hear about Han dying. So then Dom goes to Japan to say his condolences, to look into what happened. And that's when he meets Sean for the first time. Yes. So there's no postcard. There's nothing. Like, he simply goes because he knows Han died.
Apparently, according to this movie, he received that postcard on the day that Han died.
Mm-hmm.
Is the line. So...
Yep, it was in the mailbox.
Apparently they were, after the explosion, they were still...
And he chose to look at that when he saw the cross that was Jacob's.
Well, it was the same. It was the family cross.
Yes.
It was just like the cross that was used by the Tourette's. Like... it's
Look, let me say this. I knew, however they explained Han being alive was going to be messy, and I went into this movie accepting that. And the fact that they just kind of go, Mr. Nobody tech, it's pretty cool. Do we need to explain it? No. I think it's better that they don't explain it.
You know, I wish they had. Like, there's just been more than flicker of him being there and then not being there anymore was like...
It's like... It reminded me of season... At the end of season 2 of Sherlock. They have the Ryan Buck fall.
But yeah,
Sherlock
and they never
falls
explain
death.
how he lives. Yeah.
The next season they comes back, they have some sort of explanation. The guy he tells it to doesn't believe him and thinks it's the most basic. It's like anything. No, the fans wouldn't have been happy with any answer.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
So just go with the easiest one.
I mean, Mr. Nobody puts on his glasses. He clicks the
hashtag
little
it wasn't
button.
an accident. Hashtag it was a trap.
Did nobody know that Deckard Shaw was coming for Han? Or
Mr. Nobody did.
Mr. Nobody did. So okay, they'd already planned.
Reading between the lines, Mr. Nobody, as the biggest spy organization in the world, who knows about every organization and every rogue person or whatever, he finds out that Deckard Shaw is going after the Toretto family tree, and the first person he's trying to track down is Han. So then Mr. Nobody goes to Tokyo, says he's going to try and kill you. He obviously knows that Shaw's in Tokyo at that point. So he sets up this whole system where he somehow... I don't know. I presume it's some fucking hologram or something, because he puts on his glasses and like presses a button. It's like clicking it off or something, because the thing just disappears out of the car. I don't know. Personally, I don't really have a problem with it. Again, it's silly. It's stupid. I don't know how else they could have explained it.
The means justify the ends.
Yeah, I don't care. Honestly, Justin Lin was just like... Justin Lin came in to this movie, and I complained so much about how they did him dirty because of Shaw and that character, that I, as someone who was angry about that, was willing to take whatever stupid reason they could to fix that, and this is what I got, and I'm happy with it.
So the thing is, right, Han no longer requires justice, right?
Wrong.
Han no longer requires justice.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. So as to was there not enough Han, there wasn't enough justice, all that sort of stuff, I think if, as much as Han, favorite character, love Han, I think if they tried to force Han earlier into this movie or given him more time, it would have really felt like Lin was playing favoritism with characters and trying to bring him back too early. I think the movie goes about its own business, being its own movie, telling this own story where the focus is on the Toretto family tree, and the way they bring Han in, which isn't until over halfway through the movie, the way they bring him in and the way they give him time to briefly explain how it happened, I don't think that story overstays its welcome. I don't think he's brought in earlier than he needed to be. I don't think he gets more action scenes than he needs. I think they just, I want more Han, but I also feel like they did a good job at not like being like getting too favoritism with bringing him back and whatever else, so yeah. Because if they'd rushed him,
so we wanted more.
Yeah, I know, but
I wanted.
They did him dirty on the poster. I'm going to say it again.
I just wanted him.
Why is he the smallest one?
I just wanted him to have more interaction with everybody before going into the final scenes. Like even just to
see him eating more.
Just to see even just to see him interacting with, I can't remember his name, but like his pseudo daughter. Like just to see build up that a little bit, just with Elle a bit more. Like just to have, I don't know. Like it was just.
Here's the problem. Everything you're saying, I would like to. The movie is already 2.5 hours.
But it didn't feel like 2.5 hours.
We're gonna. This problem is going to be solved later. Don't worry about it.
The Lin cut.
No. Well, when we come to the future of the franchise, we'll talk about it.
Okay, I was about to say, because we do have another movie and whatever else and potential spin-offs, I guess. But yeah, as for this, I understand and I agree with what everyone's saying. And I would like more Han and everything. But again, it's 2.5 hours. And I feel like if they tried to force more of these scenes in, then potentially it would have felt like, oh, maybe like as good as that was for us Han fans, it really makes that the movie like sort of slow down and like...
The solution would just been not do Hobbs and Shaw and just made this a 2-part movie,
I mean, yeah, I would have preferred that. Or not do Fast and Furious 8 and just had a kind of bump in the road movie. So I don't know. Han, who else? So let's talk. So I just want to touch on because I don't think I said anything. I actually really enjoyed when they go there. Where is it? Germany, where the Tokyo boys are. That's what I want to call
Yeah,
it.
Yes,
Germany. with the
Germany,
rockets,
yeah. I enjoyed seeing them all. I enjoyed all the back and forth. I thought it was fun. I don't feel like it's a break in character for Sean. I feel like Sean was always just a rev head. He was someone who liked fast cars and a good time, and he wasn't like someone obsessed with drifting. He got, that movie's about him going to Tokyo and then be like just this absolute hothead who's just like, I like cars, I like going fast. And you can't drift for shit, and he has to learn how to do it. So to think nearly 20 years after the events of that movie, or like 10
It's
years
not
after
20 years. It is not 20 years.
Well, it's somewhere, it's over 10 years later.
In the timeline of this of the Fast and Furious series, it's
like
not.
8 years later.
It's like 8 years. It's not 20.
That's what I'm saying. It's close to 10. So
yeah, and 10's close to 20.
10.
my point is to think that 10 years, roughly 8 to 10 years, whatever you want to say it is, that after Tokyo Drift, that these characters either got sick of living there or just decided we're going to try and make a super fast fucking rocket car. I don't think that's really a break in character. I just
don't know how they. I just don't.
Well, I don't know how they got there either. But
was Twinkie loaded?
No,
was that the thing? Or
no,
was
Twinkie apparently
he just
somehow.
connections.
Yeah,
Twinkie had somehow.
He hustles,
Somehow he had monetized what they were doing. But, like, the thing was, how the fuck did they get that jet at the end? Like...
They're next to an airport base.
Yeah, but just because you're next to an airport base doesn't mean you can just borrow the keys for a giant fucking jet.
Who said they borrowed anything?
Then how did they get the jet?
I don't know. I don't care.
I'm asking Ashley because Ashley...
They're thieves. What do you...
The friend stole it. Brought it.
So much crime happening in this film.
Dom doesn't do that
Traded
anymore.
some Nikes. Twinkie traded some Nikes for him. I don't know.
There was a lot of vehicular damage done.
Vehicular warfare.
A lot of lot of property damage done.
It's
film,
just real lucky that the magnets in that universe are slightly delayed with when they start pulling objects.
I don't think that was the major issue. They were pulling them. I mean, you assume the car was going fast enough that they were.
So
the momentum pushed them to the thing behind. But yeah, we'll get to magnets.
One thing I was going to say before we get to magnets on the Cardi B thing, I loved how for a small character and little cameo, they still exchange enough lines back and forth so that you as an audience member who cares can go, how did Dom meet this person? Because they briefly more or less explain that he met her in the events between 4 and 5. Like, no, 2 and 4, right? So when he's stealing gas in the Dominican Republic. Yes, they briefly in exchange of lines, just in case you're a fan of who goes, how does he know this girl? They're like, if you didn't save me in that wherever thing, it's like, okay, so he met her in the Dominican. Why is she here? I don't know, but like,
she was in Los Banderas.
Yes,
I think.
She wasn't in Los Banderas, but that's roughly where I guess she fits into the timeline.
Yeah, she would
Cardi
be
B
in that
is in the
kind of
background.
story.
We can edit her in a later cut. And then the other thing I was going to say that I nearly forgot about, I have to come back to it before we move on, before I forget, which is that in the flashback sequence and how they go about telling the story of Dom fighting, like hitting what's his face off a racer with the wrench. To me, when they did that whole scene, it just reminded me of like a Han shot first type scenario, because they make sure the other dude swings
punches
first.
him. Yep.
Yeah. As soon as the other dude punched him first, I was like, oh, this is a Han shot first scenario where they're like, but Dom's not the real bad guy because he didn't take the first swing, like that's what it reminded me of. So I don't know if that was done on purpose, but I mean, there's a lot of Star Wars references in here. So
there's a lot of Star Wars. There is an entire scene of Star Wars.
Luke Skywalker.
It was like, boys, okay, there's just Star Wars.
No, I'm more of a Han Solo type. Another spot on.
We'll say, I will say they did misdirect me with what she was going to call him, because I was going to be like, oh, he's the Emperor, he's building an empire. But no, when she was like, no, Yoda, because you got a hand stuffed up your ass, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
He was that character, what was his name? Ozzy or something?
Otto,
that was it.
Man, we're going all over the place. Sorry, Dylan.
Fuck Otto. That character was very kind of, we need a reason for Jacob to have
money.
All of this like extra technology. We need to explain this somehow. Here we go. He's a random diplomat's son that has a heap of money.
Let's get back on track, or let's get back on track. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah, no, let's just go to magnets, I suppose, because that's another big thing. So
why do the magnets not affect the car that they're in?
So I'm gonna put this out here straight away. Much like the infinite runway of Fast and Furious 6,
Just disregard everything.
the magnets make absolutely no fucking sense. I don't know if I care. That's about
No, because they caught the car across the shop.
Yeah, they use them. Here's the thing. I think to using dumb mechanics or ideas in action movies that other movies fail with. They have dumb ideas and stuff, but they don't go all out there enough to make you be like, you know what? That's dumb,
care.
but fuck, you did some cool shit with it, so I don't care. And that's what this movie does. Like, it doesn't just go, oh, we can pull shit from shop windows. It does that first, you're like, because I remember there was a point where whoever it was, I don't know if it was like Lady or I can't remember. Someone's driving the car along. They activate the pull magnets thing, and they're like pulling all these bikes and stuff in front of a car to get it to flip over. But they're also driving past they're driving past cars parked on the side of the road. And at this point, because the movie doesn't deem it necessary, the magnets is not pulling those cars forward. But later, when they need it to pull those cars, the magnets pull those cars. And that was the one moment where I was like,
you presume that they have full control over how strong or weak the.
They do, but they turned it all the way up.
They also maybe they have a left and right switch.
No, because the left and right switch was reversing the polarity of the magnet.
No, like another one.
No,
make it on the right hand side and then the left hand side.
Look, this movie, there's no way to talk it out of it.
Turn the left one on, the left one off.
Look, it's only like the scene with Ramsey driving the lorry in Scotland. It's a lorry, by the way, everybody. Just so you use the right terminology.
It's a truck. Was it Scotland?
It's in Scotland. Edinburgh.
It was Scotland.
Oh,
Edinburgh. Scotland.
Yeah.
When she's driving the lorry and the magnets are on and it's only pulling like bikes and people's phones out of their hands and stuff. And then the next minute she turns it on and it pulls a fucking car through a building.
Yeah.
She set it to 9.
One car from the other side of the road that was driving. None of the other cars that were parked. Just the one car that they wanted.
Nothing from in the building. Nothing at all. It was just that. Hey, that car there. It was like the magnets.
It was like a lock-on system.
The magnets became a tractor beam, and it was just like yoink.
And again,
I'm pretty sure that would have killed John Cena.
Yeah. Again, I just want to say, no, he's in a car. Cars are soft in these movies. So, I just want to say,
but it would have squished the car against the magnet.
No. And you know what? People only die when they're being careful. You know, rules to live by.
In these movies, there's lots of this stuff that I just think that they do well that you don't care about. And there was that moment, as I'm saying, where it felt like they just had a targeting system, and I was like, "This is dumb." Like there was one moment, it was one of those moments where I was sort of taken out of the movie. I'm like, "I don't know about these magnets. This is dumb." And then by the time you get to the point where they whip a magnet car into someone and send them flying through the air, I was like, the magnets are fucking cool, man. Like,
that was so dumb. That was so fucking cool that I was like, I don't even care at this point. This is fucking awesome.
Yeah, and that's the difference between this franchise and others, because others would have just left me for the entire movie going, these magnets weren't worth the dumb shit. Like there's no payoff to this shit. But that one moment, I'm all aboard now. Now that when I rewatch it, I'm not going to think about how dumb the magnets are, because I'm going to be like, it's all worth it for that dude just getting fucking obliterated by that car. Like, so that's the magnets. I feel like that is going to be, because obviously
that'll be the talking point of
the movie's not out in America yet, so it's like a very quiet movie. It's like this, like it's just coming out in Australia, and as it starts getting released in other countries, especially in the lead up to America, like I can't wait to hear people be like, I watched Fast and Furious, the magnets is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my, I bet you there's going to be so much of that. And you know what? They're not wrong. It's very dumb. But again, they're just not appreciating that dude getting obliterated by the car. They're really not
that, and them using the magnets to flip a giant centipede.
Yeah, that was cool, actually. So,
and then also that truck then also being strong
the
enough.
Sports cars being able to brake hard enough
to help
to
flip
it.
Flip it.
But with the magnet,
flip it.
Also,
the magnet's helping,
after it sets all that though, it's also strong enough that one single explosion of some kind of grenade or something
That was the best part.
is enough to trigger it to flip back over the right way. Like
Dom literally pressed like L2, like hovered that grenade, found the perfect spot, like used fucking Fallout 3 VAT system, said 100% chance this will flip the fucking car, and like, whoop!
It's just, and then he not only does he weaponize the truck itself to launch it into a plane, but also they don't even try. You know what? You would in the older movies, which they've done before, they would try and do a fake out with Dom's death of being like, he's flung it, he's jumped out.
He's in the truck.
He's jumped off, and they look like for a moment you think, oh no, he's fallen to his death, and then no, he's like hanging off the side of some shit. In this one, no, it's just perfect, like superhero 3-point landing onto the concrete, directly off it, explosions going off behind
Well,
him.
they do kind of do a fake out, but not for the character that you think it's a fake out for.
Yes, that's fair. Yes, that's
you think Cipher dies in that plane.
And then she's Black Panthered it. She Black Panthered the shit out of it.
Yeah. Although there was another fake out earlier in the film for Roman.
There's lots of fake outs.
That was so good. That was
with
so
the
funny.
truck?
Though. That was very funny. I thought that was great, actually. I would say, you're like, oh, characters don't get much story in this. Look, Roman's never had much story in these movies, but he gets a few cool
a lot
scenes.
of screen time.
He gets a lot of screen time in these movies. I feel like they were like, look, we're not going to give you a character story because, like, there's 2 movies left. You don't really have a story. And Tyrese was like, look, I know, I'm Roman. It's fine. We're going to have a few more scenes. Can I have like a badass scene? And Justin Lin's like, you're going to shoot like 13 dudes and somehow survive. And he's like, fuck yeah. And then you got somehow survive
in the
car
most
falling in.
scared way possible.
And then also, your super safe vehicle that we keep memeing about you bringing the wrong vehicle to these kind of things is going to get stuck vertically between 2 cliff faces right above a single mine.
And you're somehow going to survive that as well. As the car
I love
lands on
the
you.
idea of Justin Lin telling Tyrese all these trying to pitch all these cool ideas.
That's how I picture
the
the movie.
reality is, it's like he's just scraping through by the bed.
Also,
you're gonna just escape a landmine. It's gonna be awesome. It's like
also, Tyrese, we're going to double down in the script on things referencing that one time you said "we hungry." Because Tyrese was
I'm hungry.
He got his quote in. He got his line. You know what I'm saying? Like he got his line. That's his line.
His moment of there being no gravity and just all the candy wrappers just like floating up into the air.
All right, let's go there. All right, since you said it.
Let's just get
for movies. For time, I don't even know for how many years at this point. Maybe ever since like 6 or 5, it felt like people in the general consensus of the world and the internet or what have you have been making jokes every time a new trailer would come out for a Fast and Furious movie, and you'll see some of the ridiculous stuff they're doing it, like jumping between buildings and whatever else. What are they gonna do? Go to space next? What are they gonna do? Go to space next? And even when they had that teaser in the trailer of them like in the rocket car, I was like, maybe it's just going to go to like the outer rim of the planet. Like they're not actually going to go to space. Like I was still like, I wasn't ready to accept it until I saw it with my own 2 eyes in this movie. And by God, they legit go to fucking space. And there's those shots where they just have that car floating through space, and my mind is both saying this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life, and by God, it's cool. Like, you know, like it is so dumb.
It's like full on like freezing up because obviously they're out in space.
Like,
on
am
the
I watching
outside or
Bill and
frosty.
Ted? Like, what am I watching right now? Like, so weird. Yeah, so how do we
They
feel about
managed to put thrusters on that car.
Yeah, and I like when Roman's like, he's like, do you know how to use a thrusters to get over there? And Roman like grabs the steering wheel. It's like, I drive. I'm like, dude, you're in space. Like,
No, but the thing is, right, you know what the key thing was to their like rocket propelledness, and I think it's the problem. I think it's the honest problem with everything SpaceX is doing, everything NASA's been doing, any other, not enough astronomical like projects at the moment are using NOS. Like, I feel like...
that's another point. I love how they've still got NOS in.
I feel like they need to be using more NOS.
Here's the thing. You cannot watch a scene like that, because I think a lot of people who criticize these movies think that they aren't aware of how silly they are. You cannot tell me that they don't have a scene where people in a car in space use NOS to blast themselves through a satellite. Their car isn't damaged at all. They destroy the satellite. Not a single scratch. Their car survives because they use NOS. NOS is magic power. It's a magic power. It's a magical being of the Fast and Furious universe. It does everything. Can solve all problems. And people still will go, man, these movies are dumb. Like the people making them aren't realizing that. You try and tell me that when they're writing that scene, they're like, fuck, this is dumb, but so good. Like, and it is. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's so good. But
I don't know about your audiences, but every single time they would cut back to Tej and Roman in space, there was like a giggle run through the crowd.
Yeah, I had a lot of giggles up
in
the back
anticipation.
From, yeah.
I had that in for when people were like for the Tyrese scenes of all of those kind of moments where he probably should have died, and just people kind of slowly cottoning on in our audience that they're just trying to fake out his death as much as possible for this storyline, and people more and more just laughing about it. Like, I think people would, after he stepped out from behind the truck that was supposedly crushed him, I think nobody was surprised. I think there was just laughter afterwards where people were just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, part of me was waiting for them to go full fucking Looney Tunes and for him to step out the back of the truck by like opening the back door and stepping out, because the truck has somehow like perfectly fallen on him in a hole that was in the truck, and he's just able to, like, I was like, the fuck is this?
His whole storyline about like, we can't die or we can't be hurt or whatever, it's almost too on the nose of them having fun with the audience that make fun of these characters just like surviving the most ridiculous shit, because they're calling it out in the movie now, and like it does reach to the degree of like you're almost reaching like Deadpool, like talking to the audience type, like
self-relevance.
Yeah, but I think it's quite funny. Yeah,
look, that's probably one of the benefits of Han not coming into the story earlier, because if Han was around for while they were having that conversation, you'd probably like hear his heart break the other side of the room and then like him run off crying because of Giselle, the only person that's like properly died in these movies.
All right, let's go Jacob a bit, because we haven't really talked about how that whole story plays out and wraps up towards at the end of the movie, of course. So Jacob, correct me if I'm wrong. So Jacob does what his dad says, causes the death of his father. He doesn't tell Dom because he made a promise never to tell Dom that his father made him tell, because Dom is at that point in his life, as the other dude calls him, the golden child. Like, he always wants to do good, and that's the Dom thing. So then when he loses the race, he leaves, somehow ends up making his way into working for like spy organizations and all sorts of shit.
He goes and lives with Buddy for a while.
He lives with Buddy for a year. That was only for 1 year.
Yeah, and then leaves. Then he works for Mr. Nobody, and he goes rogue at some point. So it's actually because of Jacob that Mr. Nobody is aware of the Torettos and all that sort of stuff. So that leads him to that. The one thing I struggled with, and one of my negatives for the movie is, I don't really get why. You know, like that's the thing. Like, as for Jacob being a hurt child and like going out into the world and trying to do as good as Dom, and like having sort of like that little brother trying to live up to the older brother thing, like I get that narrative and like what they're playing with there. But as for why did he turn rogue? Why is he working with the rich prick to get this device? Why does he want to like reset the world? Like, why is it suddenly when that dude turns on him, then by the end of the movie is like shrug, like, because if he was a true villain, it would be like, I still want to destroy the world, but it's just like shrug, that didn't work. Like, that was the one thing. I don't feel like his like what he wanted or like why and all that sort of stuff like didn't really work for me.
I think Jacob's dynamic with Otto is the kind of the problem in this situation, because if it was a traditional dynamic where Jacob was working for Otto,
he was just the muscle or whatever.
If he was just the muscle in that, which his character very easily could have fit into that,
which is
role,
what I thought he was at first, until they were like, we're partners. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think that would then explain away a lot of the problems. Like, it would just be
it would, yes, because it would be like, I was just looking for that payday or whatever.
Yeah, I was looking for that payday, or it was never, I was just allured by what this guy was telling me. But because they're partners and Jacob very much is written as the leader of it in many ways.
Basically,
like he is like number one. Like the Otto isn't the one giving him orders; they're partners. But Jacob is the face of the organization. Everything because of that, and because they make it feel like everything is Jacob's plan. It is very confusing when he turns good because Otto tried to betray him, and then he just kind of. I don't know. It's almost like he wasn't his plan at all. It's just very confusing. Like I'm glad they didn't instantly go, "Hey, come to the barbecue at the end of the movie and welcome back to the family." They did and it was a nice throwback for Dom all the way back to Fast and Furious 1 again, where somebody once gave me a 10-second car as a opportunity for myself. I'm going to do the same thing for you, and I think. Except this one's got giant fucking magnets in the back of it, and it's way cooler than that 10-second car. So just be careful with that knob in the middle because you might break something. But no, it's a very it's a weird position for Jacob as a character because it's not like he can be redeemed instantly into being a good guy, and it's it's not almost like Deckard
I think
Shaw.
he is though because they made sure in this movie to never actually have him do anything. That he couldn't come back from. Like, he never kills anyone. They never he was in charge of this evil thing that happened in your past that we're going to have to spend 10 movies to unravel. They're like, he's just a bad guy. He's trying to get bad guy things.
He killed the dad.
He what? Yeah, but he killed their dad.
He didn't mean to, though. He was doing what he was told. He didn't understand that it was going to kill him.
Yes.
I think is the overall...
Yeah, once they have that, us as an audience are supposed to accept it like Dom, which is that Dom accepts that he was wrong and that although he was the cause of their father's death, technically, it was because their father asked him to do it.
Because his dad's death was just the fact that obviously the initial plan for them was for the car to break while he was like driving and then lose the race because of it. That just simultaneously lined up with him getting hit by that other driver and caused
so when the other dude flipped the car, it caused the car to catch on fire at the same time instead of just like when you see that actually happen in real NASCAR races or whatever, they just get obliterated, but the car doesn't catch on fire, which is why when I was watching it at the start I was like, well, this is dumb because that's not actually what happens. Like the shit goes everywhere and you're left with just the shell of a car or whatever, but that's because it's ultra protected and they're strapped in and they're supposed, like, I'm sure they get fucked up, but they're supposed to survive and the cars aren't automatically supposed to burst into flames. So that, but then
also
when they
remember
got to
these are
why,
NASCARs in 19 whatever it was,
but still, but when they reach that point I was like, okay, that explains why. Like, this isn't like I'm watching fucking 4v Ferrari where cars just seem to explode randomly because of it's set in the fucking 60s or whatever. So I liked John Cena as Jacob.
Yes,
like I feel like he did, like there wasn't much to him, but it was the sort of subtlety, the little moments where you could tell he was still the younger brother and he was still just wanting to be respected and he was bitter and whatever. Like you could tell that had him to that. There wasn't much more to him than that in this movie though, which is unfortunate. Maybe we'll get more of that in the 10th one, and I want to talk about what we think the final movie will be at the end of the podcast, of course. But him as a bad guy, as I said, like I didn't love him as a bad guy because I just thought his like the who, what, where didn't line up for me, and for the most part. But I don't know. Like, but again, when I think about the bad guys in the franchise, for the most part, I didn't love Cypher in 8. Obviously, she was I was like whatever in this. Like, he was. Jacobs was meh. Like, I don't know. The Shaw brothers are like the two good bad guys we've had in the franchise.
Jacob
really.
instantly looks stupid by the whole betrayal angle because it's like, well, no shit, she was going to talk her way into Otto's ear. Like, why are you keeping her in a plastic box in your main headquarters, like in the middle of where you guys like talk and everything? Like, it just seems like a fucking. Just makes Jacob look like a stupid character when he's supposed to be.
Well, he did. Maybe he didn't. It wasn't his choice to keep her there.
But why? But the thing is, like, he is written as the leader of the organization. So even if it wasn't his choice,
he's not.
He. What do you mean he's not?
Otto's in charge.
How is Otto in charge?
Otto is the money. They're partners.
They're partners, but Otto's the one like bankrolling it and acting like he's in charge.
He's the one, telling everybody to spend as much money as they can on whatever.
Just do it, eh? Just do it.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like villains are villains in the Fast and Furious. You know, it's like
Also, they had that like laser thing around her cell, but they have it off like half the movie.
No, they have it off for all of the movie, apart from the very first time you see Cypher.
Yeah.
Why?
It's the villains aren't the important part, really.
Not really.
In terms of, except for the villains that become their friends somehow. Or, you know, those villains.
Also, Toretto heads are made out of cement, apparently.
Well, yeah, we've known that literally since Dom had cement land on his head. So
yeah, but they both like go through walls and like take
Yeah,
walls out with their heads. Yeah,
did that with The Rock as well. They went for like 20 walls and whatever else.
No, it's just like Scottish.
Or they don't have. Yeah,
Scottish construction just isn't that great.
It's
just pretty piss
pretty
poor.
crappy.
It's pretty piss poor. Let's be honest.
It's just plasterboard. Yeah.
And then there's not much. Don't really have much to say about Cypher until we just lean into the whole "what are we going to do in 10" type thing. But yeah, she was just there, I guess. Like I don't
making snide comments.
Yeah, it's like, I like how she's
trying
apparently
to explain why John Cena was related to Vin Diesel.
Also, she was apparently on the run for like the 5 years or whatever safely because she only recently got caught. That's basically?
I would believe that she's like a master hacker and like ghost and
she got away. She changed her hairstyle, so
it's true. She cut off the.
She got rid of the dreads. There's no dreads.
She cut off the white locks. So she got away. Before going into what we think is going to happen in number 10, I just want to reiterate how cool I thought the final barbecue scene was, and I really like I like how they didn't actually show him or have a digital thing or even like the back of his head and have someone like as a stand-in with blonde hair or something like seeing the car and him pulling up. You're like, it's the blue.
That's all you need.
It's the blue skyline. Like it's who the fuck else is it? You know, it's all you need. Like
also, you got Sean seeing Han for the first time.
Yes, that was good. I'm glad you mentioned it because that was the one thing in our whole like should Han have got more time or whatever. The whole movie's going and I'm like he gets all these reunion scenes and I was thinking at some point. I think it was during the magnet stuff in the final action scene. At some point there when Han's fighting that dude, I was like, this motherfucker never going to get a reunion scene with the dude he was like in the movie with. Like he's never going to get one with Sean. And I like how they actually made sure to include that because that was like, I was going to be like, what the fuck? But that's definitely a bringing back Justin Lin thing because I feel like someone else would have been like, they're not important. Like, doesn't appreciate
why are they even invited?
Yeah, kind of thing. Like, it's fucking dumb. But, overall, I'm sure I've missed some stuff. I don't really know, but we've hit the main.
They got
bits.
rescued by the International Space Station.
Is that what it was? I wasn't sure.
It was either or like somebody who was chilling in space. It was
crossover franchise there as well, making sure to mention.
That's why he has the space shuttle in the end of the movie.
Making sure to mention Minions, in case you didn't know, which is out in cinemas, I believe.
It was a Universal,
soon or whatever.
No, I think it got delayed till next year.
Did it? Okay, got delayed till next year. Well, it was supposed to be out by now, much like this movie was supposed to be out by now.
Yeah,
there's a tie-in for that. I think it was originally supposed to come out like the day of or like a week after or something like ridiculous like that. If I remember last year. So, all right.
I think the movie set up the craziness and the physics laws don't matter by having them driving over a bridge that was collapsing and then have it completely collapse and somehow get over the bridge.
Because Dominic Toretto crashed into the remaining post with the...
No, but then drive the Roman and Tesh.
Oh, Roman, they just had momentum. They just had momentum.
I buy into that.
They just had momentum. That was not... I can buy into that. I can't buy into...
That bridge was limp by the time they got across.
It wasn't. I can't buy into Dom crashing into the last remaining post and piece of rope and it being able to perfectly wrap it around one of the front wheels of the car.
Well, you'll see, he drove into it and perfectly timed turning the wheel. So they make sure... See, this is the one thing I appreciate this franchise. They know what they're doing is dumb, but they always try to explain how and why
I don't mind that bit. Honestly, I don't mind that bit. It's the fact that the rope didn't snap. The rope was tensile enough to hold the momentum of the car being swung over.
That rope had been recently replaced. It was just the other
With, like-
ropes on that bridge.
Yeah, with like some like
That hadn't been
I'm so
replaced.
glad they didn't land that car though, and they just had it crash because I was like, I could not buy into
No,
this
yeah.
landing somehow. Like,
It's just that they happened to be on the edge of the
Yeah.
border of that
I'm like,
country.
you can only go so far of this unrealism. Like, so
Also-
I'm glad they crashed.
And somehow Letty survived that without wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah, like it's in a
hey,
car. The
she
cars
had
are
her
safe.
like she
Cars
had
are
her
safe.
like leg up on the dashboard. She
It's
was
fine.
all ready. She was like,
Cars are cushions. It's fine.
but also, could you imagine just the military of that country just being like, we have sports cars. We need to send everything. Send everything at these sports cars right now. Get your helicopters
6
there.
helicopters.
Get everybody.
Michael
I also
Bay was in
appreciate-
charge of the military in this
Yeah.
country. So.
I also appreciated the portion of the military that saw the minefield and was like, nah,
Fuck that.
nah, fuck that. We'll stop here. You idiots that didn't read
Again,
the sign,
I appreciate
go
how
ahead.
they try to explain it. They're like, they're going to drive over mines. How's that work? So they have a scene where they're like, well, mathematically, if we drive 80 kilometers miles per hour, we're going fast enough to miss the explosions. Like, just in case anyone in the audience is wondering. So there you go. All right. So before going into what we think is going to happen in 10, I don't know if this ties into it, but we're just on the Easter egg, the after credit scene, which some people, stupid idiots, left my cinema for. And I was like, you motherfuckers are dumb. Do you not remember when Justin Lin was directing these movies, he had after credit scenes in these movies? So the after credit scene for this movie, or the mid credit scene, is a throwback.
You didn't stay for the after credits though, right?
No, there's no after credits. Was there?
You didn't see CM Punk come out and back.
Okay.
No, I was going to say, fuck off, Ash. You even warned us about the mid-credits scene. You would have warned us about the after one as well.
Yeah.
The mid credit scene
I made
is
sure to stay.
the mid credit scene is a throwback to the Fast and Furious 6 scene in which they have Jason Statham do that little phone and introduce him for the first time as the person that kills Han. So now they've brought Han back, they have this little funny after credit scene where Jason Statham's beating up someone for some unknown reason. Doesn't really matter. But then, of course, there's a knock at the door. He opens the door. Han's there. I love Jason Statham's shocked face, like legit shocked face. I thought they sold that quite well. So, yeah, how did you feel about the after credits, Kieran?
So good.
Han doesn't even need justice. Han doesn't need justice anymore because Han was in on the whole plan and knew that they were using Deckard Shaw to fake his death so he could spend time with his pretty much daughter.
The
He has
justice
no
was never
reason-
about the character needing justice himself. It was about the character as a fictional person getting done wrong in the franchise.
No, that doesn't matter.
That's what it was. That's what it was. The hashtag justice for Han was always about them doing that character dirty and fixing it.
Them not respecting that character.
No, but then he doesn't need any justice by going
Well,
to Deckard
I think
Shaw.
you're looking at
Yeah,
that.
the justice is them retconning it, so he didn't need justice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's already had the justice. You don't need
I think
the
you're
after-
looking-
No,
I
but
think-
prior to this movie, there was no justice.
I think you're
The
looking.
justice that he got was it being retconned in which he doesn't need the justice anymore.
I think you're-
Exactly. So the after credit scene is now pointless because
It's a
like,
weird time loop.
It's just like, why does he care about Deckard Shaw?
No, he's going over there to ask for a favor. He's like,
Oh,
listen,
you reckon Han's gonna be? It's gonna be Han and Shaw.
It's yeah. The
Han
next
and
movie is
Shaw.
Han and Shaw. Give it to me.
No, Hobbs and Shaw. Han Reloaded.
I've got a couple of pictures for those, but yeah, that's one of them. I don't even need it to be like an action scene. Just them like chilling out, talking through their feelings. You know, you tried to kill me, but I kind of do. You know, I need you to help me secure L or something. I don't know. But yeah, I dug it, and it's a cool teaser, but I don't know if anything will come of it.
So I think something will come of it because it would be dumb to include that scene without having actually something come of it. And every other after credit scene that they've done in these movies always has a payoff or leads into something or is actually eventful. And it's not just a throwaway Easter egg. Which one hasn't? Don't give me that face.
You think Ryan Reynolds, we've got another virus, is going to pay off?
Yes, because he's the bad guy. So, and that's Hobbs and Shaw, and we don't give a fuck about that movie. It doesn't count. But I mean, all the mainline Fast and Furious after credit scenes are important. They mean something.
There's only been
There's been like
one,
3 or 4.
2.
Even the return of Eva Mendes, where she's like puts the file on the desk and it's Michelle Rodriguez and all that sort of stuff. So
that's true.
Yeah, you think there's all these little ones, and they always count. They always like are eventful, and they always tease the next movie, and they always mean something. Also, I think you're looking at the scene wrong. It's not Han coming to Deckard Shaw, and I don't think the scene plays out with him being like, "You motherfucker killed me." I think it's actually supposed to be Han coming in, and Han as a character just being like, do you feel bad?
What's up?
Do you feel bad, bro? Like, like
he's just there to guilt trip him.
In reality, I think how they'll play out the scene in the next movie is that it'll actually be Han.
It's a recruitment.
No, I think it'll actually be Han giving Deckard Shaw a reprise, because what they've built up him in the Hobbs and Shaw movie is they've built Deckard now up to having this thing of guilt about Han, and him having that line in Hobbs and Shaw about him having to. And
then they finally give Han a justifiable death when Han takes a bullet to save Deckard Shaw.
No, that's not what's going to happen. But
Han's bulletproof now.
But they have given
Han is actually invincible now.
They have given Deckard all this stuff where him talking about guilt. So I think that's actually how that'll scene play out, where it'll be a scene where, because now that they've brought Han back and they've got that character back, so they can now have people like me who was so angry at Deckard as a character and just felt like him getting pushed to the good guy roster and like having that face turn that didn't really make any sense. And now if they actually have Han go back and say, it's okay, you don't need to feel guilty about it, I'm okay, then everything they've done with Deckard and all that will start to fall into place and everything's right in the world. So
do you feel better about Deckard now because he didn't actually kill Han?
Yeah. Like, I think, yeah. Yes. I think that's important.
So you'd be better watching 8 now and having him go to the barbecue.
Yes. Context is everything. I mean, and this whole franchise is built upon scenes in other movies retroactively affecting something in another movie. You know, like there's so many things where you're like, oh, watching this and this and this and this. Like if we do a rewatch now of Tokyo Drift, it's like, again, am I going to be sitting there and not thinking about Elle somewhere? Like, of course I'm now. If I watch Tokyo Drift tomorrow, I'm going to be sitting there going, where's Elle during all this? You know what I mean? Like, it's the subtle, like, it's no different.
There's just some random girl that walks past Han and they have eye contact.
You tell me that, like, you go watch the original Fast and Furious movie now, and when Dom's explaining how he took a wrench and all that sort of stuff, you're now not going to be thinking about Jacob subtly in the back of your mind. Like, it's what I do think this movie has a lot of.
Well, it's always like
that sort of
Tokyo
stuff.
Drift has already been like that for me. Like Tokyo Drift is already like, well, where's Deckard? You know, where's he actually positioned and everything? Why is, you know? Because there are shots in Tokyo Drift of like instantly in the moment after Han crashes and there's no sign of him, so it's like, it's always
just the wrong camera angle.
It's like a top down shot though, so there's not a wrong camera angle there.
Also, before we get to what we think is going to happen in number 10 based on this one, I just want to say that I love that they brought I can't remember Whigham or whatever, that little cameo they had of the cop from Fast and Furious 4.
Oh yeah,
you know that dude. Like that was my favorite little cameo that they brought him back for that one.
Kenny Linda.
Yeah,
Linda.
You know, old mate still got the fucked up nose, so I appreciated that. That was quite a little funny cameo. But I think that's about it on talking about this.
Oh no, it's Shea Whigham as Agent Stacy.
There you go, Shea. I thought it was Whigham, Shea Whigham or something. All right, so Ash, Fast and Furious 10. Where do you think we're going? What do you think's happening? What's the go?
Clearly Cipher. Oh well, Cipher's going to be involved. I'm split as to whether Cipher's going after Dom to get a final revenge, or Dom is going after Cipher to secure his family, get rid of all threats to the family, you know, so then they can live their lives peacefully, potentially forever. I think Mr. Nobody comes back. I think we get the whole family back. Every single person who's been in the franchise that's available will be on board, at least for a little bit. You know, and then I don't know if you want to go into spin-offs from here, but yeah.
We'll come back to it after this.
Yep.
Karen, what do you think's happening in Fast and Furious 10?
The Toretto family has finally formed into a proper organization of some kind. They're no longer these kind of random ass people that do missions. They're now taking missions. They're doing stuff more often. They're no longer
Dom
running.
becomes the new Mr. Nobody.
Dom is almost like a Mr. Nobody in many ways, where he's hands on. People are coming to him. They run into Sila and they find out she now has her own family. And now the Sila family is involved, and it's a whole and then it truly is all about family, and it's one family will survive. And it's clearly going to be the Toretto family because it's the only family that. But then there's all these other mini families, like The Rock and his daughter turns up, and then also Deckard Shaw and the Shaws turn up, and there's just it's a whole mess of families.
It's about all the families.
Yeah, exactly. It's about all the families. That is correct.
What do you think, Dylan?
Well, I just want to say one thing. So I was trying to I can't find confirmation because remember they did that live event a month or so. It was a couple months prior to the original release date, and they did that thing in Miami where they had a concert.
The trailer
and they
reveal?
showed the trailer, and I stayed up to watch it, the whole thing or whatever.
Yes.
I think in that I can't find confirmation if it's actually true or not, or if I'm just talking out my ass, but I swear they said or implied that Fast and Furious 10 will be 2 parts. So as to our whole, maybe we don't have enough movies type stuff.
I feel like that's something that's been talked about.
Yeah. So I don't want to say that's 100% a thing because I can't actually find confirmation in my quick Google search, but I swear that's what they were talking about, at least during that when Justin Lin was talking, or Vin Diesel. But Vin Diesel likes to say a lot of things, or secretly hush, give hints about what they're doing because he went from being I don't do sequels to Fast and Furious as his massive baby, he loves this shit now. So I think Fast and Furious 10 is supposed to be 2 movies. I got sick of when they kept trying to...
Okay, so here's a quote with Vin Diesel talking to Total Film back in February of last year.
Mm-hmm.
I started planning for Fast 10 before we started filming Fast 9. Very much so. The universe is robust and so rich with talent and rich with that story. On one level, it's totally feasible to have spin-offs. I think that's something that's inevitable. Universal deserved it because of how much they've invested in this little saga. It's going to give back to Universal. And for the fans, should Fast 10 parts 1 and 2 be the conclusion, it could be nice for this world to continue for generations to come.
Yeah, so I think that's what the plan is unless things have changed, which I hope not, because this is actually one of the times where I'm no, you know what, fuck it, do it. I would love for them to be there's 2 parts to the finale. I got sick of them doing these 2-part finales after, Breaking Dawn, and every other teen drama movie had part 1, part 2, Harry Potter part 1, part 2. All these movies were doing part 1, part 2 as the finales. But I tell you what, if a franchise got to 10, I think they deserve, because actually it's... Even the OCD part of me is it means that they can do 10 part 1, part 2, and it's still a 10-part trilogy. Whereas instead of we did 11, you finished on 11. That's a weird number.
11.
That's a weird number to finish on.
You said it was 11, so.
Well, it'll be 12 then, I guess. Technically, if you want to count Bad Luck Tomorrow, it'll still be 12 in the things are still in. But yeah, I think Cipher will be the bad guy, obviously. I'm going to presume that they add one more villain. I'm hoping, or honestly, if they went crazy and just brought back villains, or I know we've talked about before, the Too Fast Too Furious villain never actually came back. I'm all in them just going full Endgame.
So instead of a family, they make a villain family of all these people.
Well, there's not enough.
I think that'd be a decent amount. There'd be the one for Fast Furious 2. You could probably get DK back in, maybe. You could get the villains from Fast. Did Fast 4's villains live, or did they both die?
He's in jail. Remember,
he's in jail, so
Brian
he
goes and
back.
visits him in 6 or whatever it was.
One of them. So yeah, he can come back. The villain from 5 can come back because he never died. He was just put in jail or something. Look, okay, 7 and 8, they're both became
good guys now.
They both became good guys, so you can't really have
6 and
those
7
anymore. But yeah, no, I think there's enough for there if they really wanted to do that shit. I don't think they would, maybe just because of maybe they can't get all the actors together, but it'd be a cool thing for them to try and do.
I'm gonna say that
my dream villain for this, bring in Vince McMahon.
No, what the fuck? Get out of here.
The ultimate villain.
No.
Fucking, what a mark wearing an AEW t-shirt. Fucking wrestling, sorry, moviegoers. Fucking dickhead.
Come on. It's Cypher's dad.
So I would like it to be Cypher. I would like it to be a 2-part thing. I would like them to bring in as many people as possible. And if they do a 2-part thing and they basically treat it like the end game of the Fast and Furious franchise,
I want Cypher to win, and then Dom and that have to go back in time through the events of the previous films to collect the infinity tires.
The infinity tires. All of the MacGuffins from the movies past are really all part of the same large MacGuffin, and they all come together to form like this car-related robot that Dom has to then fight.
What's your ideas for spin-off, Sash?
Well, the other, we'll say the other crazy theory, zombies.
No, what? What do you
bring back?
What's your ideas for
bring
spin-offs?
back Jack Toretto?
What's your ideas for spin-offs? And you're not allowed to say the Jurassic
Spin-offs.
World's rumored.
Okay,
bullshit.
obviously we've got they've rumored the female-led spin-off. I think that gains more traction after that Letty Mia L fight scene. I think that was really cool, and if they go in that direction, maybe get the Cardi B faction in. Maybe Queenie is the the Charlie's Angels-esque lead. Head of the organization that's gotten them all together or something.
Queenie
That'd
would be
really
the Mr. Nobody of that movie. The Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
of that
that's
movie.
what, you know, yeah, that kind of thing. That'd be cool. Han and Shaw. Give it to me. Get those two trying to work together and like get past, that's how Shaw gets the forgiveness. They work together on one job. Getting to know each other. Eating chips. And then the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off should be called Hobbs and Shaws. Because there's multiple Shaws.
Karen, do you have any ideas for spin-offs?
Unless the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off wraps up with them leading into the fucking finding out who the big bad villain was from the first Hobbs and Shaw, and then that leading into Ryan Reynolds, and that leading into Fast and Furious 10, where Ryan Reynolds is the big bad guy. That'd be so fucking.
I don't want that to tie into the main franchise. So
what? Cypher and Ryan Reynolds team up?
No. One thing I do want to just quickly say is that Fast and Furious 10 was originally supposed to come out by now. So it was actually originally supposed to come out like April, March, June, July, something like 2021 in the original scheme of plans. And then if they were doing a part 2, I assume it was supposed to come out like 2022 or something like that. I presume the original plan was they were supposed to start shooting 10 roughly around the same time or before 9 came to cinemas, maybe straight after doing that sort of promotional tour.
After doing press.
And if they were doing a 2 parts, they'll shoot them back to back because that's just the way you do 2 parts. You shoot them back to back, or they always have. Most of the movies have. So now I've got a weird wait. So now I am wondering, like, will we get a Hobbs and Shaw sequel before we get the 10? And if they're doing 10 part 1 or 2, will we have a weird kind of thing where 10 releases, part 1 releases, and then Hobbs and Shaw 2 releases, and then 10 part 2 releases? Because I don't want that to be a thing, because I honestly feel like if 10 part 1 comes out and they're still having this whole Rock versus Vin Diesel, like who's got the biggest ego thing, I think that 10 part 1 will make way more money than Hobbs and Shaw part 2 in my mind, and then they'll use that as a sign to say no one cares about these characters, but it's like, well, they do, but like also it's the last of the movie, so of course that's going to make more money. And Universal's having this weird infighting between a lot of the producers. Like if you read any of the dirt sheets of movies or whatever you want to call it, they're having like some of the producers, like because a lot of the big ones left this to go work on Hobbs and Shaw because they were like, oh, like that's the future of the franchise and all this sort of stuff. So I hope that's not what actually ends up happening. So, but we shall see. Other the real spin-off ideas, I don't really mind. Like I know they was talking about Cypher spin-off or a female-led spin-off or whatever else. I'm like, sure, sounds good. Depends how they do it. They're talking about all these other spin-offs. Sure, I want the Han spin-off. Obviously, I don't really know. Other than
I think that's possible. I don't know. I said Han and Shaw, but like that could just be that finale could just be a spin-off for a Han
Do
movie.
you
Where, older guys with found daughters is very hot right now. So
if they did a Han spin-off, I don't know if it would actually happen because
you want him to go back to California and meet up with the cast of
Well, I would,
Belloc tomorrow.
Yeah, I would much prefer it to fall in line where suddenly Justin Lin's doing it and it kind of switches gears and it's falling back in line with the style and the character Han was in Better Luck Tomorrow. It's like a return to that. It's like it's both a sequel and continuation of the character from the Fast and Furious franchise, but also like what happened to that character from Better Luck Tomorrow. Maybe they could actually bring back those characters Better Luck Tomorrow. That would actually legit, like not meming, that would be my legit.
Yeah,
Han
it's like
spin-off.
a story, but also flashback to that.
Yeah,
the chunks of period that we don't know about.
Yeah, because then
you can have Giselle come back. I'm sure Gal Gadot needs to work.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to say that she didn't die for 10. To be completely honest, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the story.
Chloe.
Yeah, fuck it.
God damn it! Another person fucking. Ugh. God damn it.
Sure.
Do you? I see them. And this is already kind of suggested for a lot of these kind of franchises. Do you see them after 10 part 1 and 2, or even if it's just 1, them giving Fast and Furious a rest for a while? Like the main line Fast and Furious title?
It's
over. And then,
They're not
no,
going
but
to.
do you see them coming back with the kids when they're a bit older?
Maybe when we're like 40.
When they come back with with Brian Toretti
legacy.
and Jack and everything can try and do that. Yeah.
No, it'll be an animated show. Before you know it.
Spyway? No, that's the thing. Like the franchise will continue, and that's why they've already begun all these branching spin-off ideas on whatever else. The mainline franchise with these characters is going to come to an end. But I don't like literally as silly as it sounds. Just think about this as the Skywalker saga and how they always talked about Star Wars will continue, but this is the end of the Skywalker saga. This will be the end of the Toretto saga, if that's how you want to call it. Like 10 films, 11 films, 12 films, whatever, Toretto saga. And then it's going to spin off and it's going to continue. There could be 6, there could be 10 Hobbs and Shaw movies. You know what I mean? Like there's all these things.
There's so many Fast and Furious presents.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of Fast and Furious presents. So, cool. Any last thoughts, stuff you've remembered that you haven't thought to mention, Ash, Kieran? Before we wrap
I'm
up?
pretty good. I feel like it's time for the line.
Time for the line.
Yeah. Some favorite lines?
Well, yeah. I'll say I don't have a favorite line because I can't remember them. I don't think Kieran does, unless you're going to surprise me.
No,
I
don't.
But Ash was the one who mentioned prior to recording that he was the best, most prepared one here and wrote down favorite line. So yeah, hit us with your best line.
Listen, I think it works because we're coming to the end of the episode, but maybe we're not invincible. Maybe we've been extremely lucky this entire time. But if this is going to end, it might as well be on top of the world. Which really doesn't make sense because they're not on top of the world. They're like in orbit around the world. But,
Yeah.
Tyrese can only do so much. Also, I love the delivery of, how are you not dead?
And as for the mix, we don't have that either this week, unfortunately, because...
No. Soundtrack releases
tomorrow as
today,
of recording.
I believe. Tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like it comes out American 6th, 17th, 16th, whatever. It should be out soon, but it's not out as of recording, which is annoying because I left the cinema and I wanted to put it on to listen to it on my drive back.
Get in the mood.
We'll get in the mood, plus also like pick some tracks for this, but then it's not available. You can find like the one song they've put out ahead of time or whatever.
They had like a road to the
F9 which had like
they put out.
like 1 or 2 songs or whatever, but not the full thing. So oh well. All right, for the final time, at least for now, looks like we are all out of NOS.
Just like Tej and Roman.
Yeah, in space. Will there be a second season of this? I'm going to say yes. What and how and what that looks like, I don't know. We'll get to it when we actually know when Fast and Furious 10 is coming out and all these sorts of things. But yeah, I would say there will be a second season. Maybe it'll be a lot shorter than this. I don't know.
Hopefully.
Yeah, like this first season went through 2 releases of episodes, so it would definitely be shorter. If you enjoyed it, and you'd like to tell us all these nice things, you can follow us on Twitter by heading to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. You can follow all of our Twitters on a nice list there. You can talk to us about the movies on explosionnetwork.com/Discord to join our Discord there. And if you've watched the movie or you're listening to this without watching it because you're like, fuck it, I just want to listen to it, good, that's good. If you watched the movie, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had some fun. I hope you had a good time listening to all of these podcasts. If you like podcasts and this is the only one of ours that you've heard, head on over to explosionnetwork.com. We've got a whole bunch of other fantastic podcasts on there that you can listen to as well. And if you'd like to show us a little as $1 to show that you enjoyed this podcast series, head on over to explosionnetwork.com/support, which will take you to our Ko-fi page where you can drop $1 and or more with a nice note saying this is for the Fast and Furious content. Great, thank you, love you. And that'll do it. So for the final time, goodbye. #justice is here.
Is it though?
Oh, yeah, no.